Good evening, my dear friends. Nchumbonga just Lekelefac. A pleasure to speak with you. I have received countless messages from friends who were able to listen to the Pope's message today, Pope Leo the 14th, pronounced at the Unity Palace in Yaounde. Unfortunately, they can't understand French. They can only understand English. So they will send me messages to ask me whether I could read the speech in English, which I have done already in a separate video. I've read the speech of the Holy Father in a separate video, and the speech I read is from the Vatican website. So there's authentic speech of the Holy Father in English. If you go to that website, you can find it in English, in French, in Spanish, in Italian, in German, and in different languages. Given the fact that my institute is an institute of research, documentation, language, and culture, I've taken this time to make this video so that our followers can understand what the Pope said in Yaounde today. I have read the message already in a different video. This video I would like to do today is to explain, to comment on the Pope's message. And I'm going to do that paragraph by paragraph, my dear friends. Let's begin with the first. Now, the meeting with the authorities, I would like to make this very clear. This meeting was between Pope Leo the 14th. I watched it live. It was between Pope Leo the 14th and the authorities of Cameroon, civil society, and the diplomatic corps. So the diplomatic corps, the ambassadors, And during that meeting, there was an address of Pope Leo the 14th at the Presidential Palace in Yaounde, Wednesday, 15th of April, 2026. Now, before I give my comments, the first thing I observed was that the occasion was being broadcasted by XIV. I don't know why other private TV stations were not allowed to broadcast. Why was it only XIV monopolizing it? That's the first thing I'm wondering. Secondly, we did not see Pope Leo walk to the stage. The camera was focusing on the ambassadors instead of focusing at the Pope and the President walking to the stage. I don't know why the XIV is preventing us from seeing the state of our president. If our president can't walk, show us so that we know he can walk. It's human to be old, isn't it? But when you start hiding somebody who is old, man, it's not a good thing. XIV cannot be behaving as if we're in the old ages. This is 2026. You have to broadcast what is happening. So that's one of the observations I found, that the cameraman was not showing us what was happening. Was not showing us the president walking to the stage. We just saw a president sitting on the stage. We don't know how he came there. So that's one of the observations. Another observation is that when the Pope started making his speech, Pope Leo was able to make a speech in which he was just lost. In the speech Pope Leo made, he was talking about the world having war and all that. He was not concrete. How can you be talking about war in Iran and other places, forgetting that we've had a 10-year Anglophone war in the English-speaking part of Cameroon? So this is the president who is totally disconnected, very disconnected with the situation in Cameroon. His speech was about war, the problems in different parts of the world. The world is going through a difficult time, suffering. Why not talk about what is happening in Cameroon? Talking about the world. So he was totally lost. That's what I can comment as far as the president's speech was concerned. It was not a speech. It was not talking about the reality of Cameroonians. On the other hand, Pope Leo did a great job. His speech was about a reality in Cameroon. In fact, Father Ludovic just posted a comment saying that it seems that the Pope's speech was written by an MRC member, an MRC, Maurice Kamto's party's member, because the truth was just so glaring. The Pope wrote as if he had lived in Cameroon for 20 years, forgetting the fact that The Vatican have people who investigate, who tell them the truth. Even in the Vatican, where the Pope lives, we have people working in the Vatican who are from different parts of the world. Who have some even from Cameroon, working in the Roman Korea. So they tell the Pope the reality of the people, what the people go through. You have religious, even St. Augustine, the religious congregation of St. Augustine. They are there I hear there's one in Douala and in Bamenda. So they tell the Pope the reality of what is happening. So you cannot deceive the Pope. You can't deceive the Pope. So let's get back to what I was saying. This speech of the Pope is so powerful. The Pope begins by saying, Mr. President, distinguished authorities, members of diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. That is the address he's addressing to these 4 people. President of the Republic, distinguished authorities, members of diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with the first paragraph. This is what the Pope says in the first paragraph. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for the warm reception I have received and for the words of welcome addressed to me. It is with deep joy that I find myself in Cameroon, often described as Africa in miniature, because of the richness of its lands, cultures, languages, and traditions. This variety is not weakness but a treasure. It constitutes a promise of fraternity and a solid foundation for building lasting peace. So the Pope begins by saying that he expresses his gratitude to the Cameroonians for the warm reception, and that it is with deep joy. He's so happy to be in Cameroon, because Cameroon is known as Africa in miniature. Why? Because of its richness of land. The Pope clearly states that Cameroon is rich in lands, in cultures, in languages, and in traditions. That's why Cameroon is called Africa in miniature, because it is rich in what? In lands, cultures, languages, and traditions. That's the first paragraph of the Pope. The Pope is thanking the people of Cameroon for the hospitality. The Pope is also expressing his joy to be there with them. And the Pope is telling them that he's there in a country that has been described as Africa in miniature. And he says that this variety, Cameroon being an African in miniature because of its varieties in culture, languages now. These varieties is not weakness but a treasure. These varieties of languages should not be a weakness, but it should be a treasure and a solid foundation of building lasting peace. So he begins his first paragraph by talking about pax. Pax, peace. In the second paragraph, he says, I come among you as a shepherd and as a servant of dialogue, fraternity, and peace. So he's coming as a shepherd of what? Dialogue, fraternity, and peace. Those 3 things. My visit is an expression of the affection of the successor of Peter for all Cameroonians, as well as of the desire to encourage each of you to keep moving forward with enthusiasm and perseverance in building the common good. So what is he saying? The Pope is saying that his visit is an expression of the affection he has for Cameroonians, as well as his desire. So he's coming to Cameroon because of the affection he has for us, and because of the desire he has to do what? To encourage each and every one of Cameroonians to move forward with enthusiasm. Perseverance. Enthusiasm means a joyful spirit, Perseverance in building the common good. So perseverance in building what? The common good. So that was why in my interview with Chris Ano just an hour ago, one of the speakers challenged me because I criticized Archbishop Kia by saying that the government gives them money, they take this money and build their cathedrals, and that makes them to be quiet. They have lost their moral voice. And this guy says, if I were the one, I would take the money and build it. I said, no, I totally disagree. But that money of treasury, the money of the taxes, are not meant to be cathedrals. They are meant to be roads, hospitals, common good. Yeah, the cathedral is not a common good. It's a place of worship. And there was a cathedral before. But this Nkia decides to renovate it, to refurbish, despite the politics, despite the war going on, people dying of hunger, people don't having water, they don't have electricity. Instead of building an orphanage or a place where people could have food to eat and drinks, you prefer to refurbish a cathedral. So I totally disagree. I'm not going to support Archbishop Nkea in that. Because the church is not all about structures. No. We are the body of Christ. So bishops should take care of the body of Christ, not just the structures. So that was not a priority, building, refurbishing a cathedral. Priorities are taking care of your Christians, your flocks who are suffering. So I'm very clear about that, very clear. In line with what the Pope is saying. Perseverance in building the common good. I continue. We are living, in fact, at a time when hopelessness is rampant and sense of powerlessness tends to paralyze the renewal so deeply desired by people. Yes, the Pope is talking about what we are living now, the war in Ukraine, the war in Iran and all that, which is paralyzing the renewal of a deep desire for people. There is such a hunger and thirst for justice. The Pope says that there's a hunger for thirst and justice. Exactly what we have been preaching, what we have been documenting and writing against the Catholic Church of Cameroon. Because our bishops are not moral authorities anymore. Some. Archbishop Cleda has not stopped talking. The Bishop of Afusa, the Bishop of Yaounde, the Bishop of Yagua. These are the bishops who have spoken out against the ills of the government. Why our own bishops of the Anglophone zone, Archbishop Nkea, Bishop Bibi said, can you imagine what the bishop says? So he doesn't even know who he is. He doesn't know the power he has, the moral authority he has to change things, to change poverty, to change the status quo. That's why we have the social teachings of the church. The social teachings of the church that was established by Pope Leo XIII in his encyclical, famous encyclical, Rerum Novarum. He wrote that encyclical because of the way workers were being treated. They were not being paid. He said, no, you have to pay them. Social teachings. But Bishop Bibi forgot about the social teachings. According to him, when I do it, just look at a man talking like that. You begin to wonder whether he even knows who he is or whether he's even qualified to be a bishop. There is such a hunger and thirst for justice, a thirst for getting involved, for a vision, for courageous choices, and for peace. It is my great desire to reach the hearts of all, especially young people. The Pope is saying that it is his desire, because of this situation, to reach the heart of all, especially the young people, whom in Cameroon have been discarded. Look at the government of Cameroon. They are all old people who have been there for 40, 30, 20 years. No, it's not correct. Look at our president, 43 years in power. How do you expect the youth to occupy those spaces if you want to always be there? We have ministers who have been there for 20 years. There's no renovation. No, it's not supposed to be like that. The Pope is saying that the young people who are called to help shape a world that is more just, including in the political sphere. So the young people too are called in the political sphere to shape. But in Cameroon, that's not possible. Because the old people want to be there forever. Look at our president today. He could not even walk. Why do you disgrace yourself like that? You're an elderly man. Hand over this power now and go and rest. It's not your personal property. Why do you make yourself to be so useless? Because what I saw today was just being useless. He couldn't go to the airport to receive the Pope. He couldn't walk to the stage. We don't know how he got to the stage. Why do you disgrace yourself like that? Why don't you retire and give this thing to another person? And now they're talking of a vice president. So what was the need to rush about this vice presidency thing? We thought that they were rushing about it so that the vice president could receive the Pope. Guess what? No vice president. Today it is the prime minister who received the Pope. So what was the need of rushing this vice president thing and depriving Catholics who are part of the parliament to respect their Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday? You brought them to Yaounde and tension and pressurized them to vote for this legislation. You know, it's not good. I also wish to express my desire to strengthen the bonds of collaboration between the Holy See and the Republic of Cameroon. So the Pope is coming to Cameroon also to do what? To strengthen that bond between the Holy See and Cameroon. Founded on mutual respect, dignity of every human person, and religious freedom. Those three things. So these relationships which Archbishop Kia said, oh, we are having a good relationship with the state, are these relationships founded on mutual respect? How can it be founded on mutual respect when so many priests and bishops have been killed? And there's no accountability. Bishop Bala Bafia, till today, the Episcopal Conference has not told us who killed Bishop Bala. And we are talking about we are in a good relationship. No! You can't be in a good relationship with somebody that is killing your priest. And then you're talking about the dignity of every human person. What do you mean the dignity of every human person is being respected in Cameroon? How many people are in prison who have done nothing? Has the Episcopal Conference spoken on their behalf? No. So what is Archbishop Kia talking about? What is the church? Is the church just putting on cassock and working with ministers? Or is it to emulate Christ? To speak on behalf of the voiceless? That is what the church is all about. Jesus came to speak for the helpless, the poor, the less privileged. But they are all in prison. Our bishops are quiet. They're not saying anything about it. And you want us to be quiet? No, it's wrong. So these relationships must be founded on mutual respect, dignity of every human person, and the religious freedom. And that freedom to worship, to worship in any church or in any religion. That freedom. So that was the second paragraph. The third paragraph. Cameroon still carries the memory of visits made by my predecessors. St. John Paul II bore a message of hope for all the peoples of Africa. Yes, Pope John Paul II came twice in Cameroon, saying the same things the Pope said today. But nothing has changed. Pope Benedict came and emphasized the importance of reconciliation, justice, and peace, as well as the moral responsibility of those in government. This was in 2009. But guess what? 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 7 years later, the Anglophone War began. So you begin to wonder whether they really understand what the Pope says. I know that these are important moments in your country's history as they are compelling exhortation to a spirit of service, unity, and justice. We may therefore ask ourselves, where are we now? How has the word that was proclaimed to us borne fruit, and what remains to be done? So the Pope now is asking this powerful philosophical question: what has been done? Let us evaluate ourselves. All these visits of popes, they have come 3 times. Some people are claiming, oh, Cameroon is a blessed country. The popes have come 3 times. Let us think philosophically. What have we done with those visits? Has it improved the lives of Cameroonians? What has these visits, have they changed the behavior of the ministers? Are they saving the country in justice? So those are serious questions the Pope is asking on the 3rd paragraph. 4th paragraph. 1600 years ago, St. Augustine wrote words that have great relevance today. Those who rule serve those whom they seem to command, for they rule not from a love of power, but from a sense of the duty they owe to others. Not because they are proud of authority, but because they love mercy. From this perspective, serving one's country means dedicating oneself with a clear mind and an upright conscience to the common good of all people in the nation. Common good is what the Pope keeps hammering. The common good, that means the good of everybody. Not just the good of one person. For example, highways. How many years is it taking for the Douala Yaounde highway to be completed? That's a common good, which has not been achieved. But all of a sudden, roads were tarred everywhere. Even the airport of Bamenda became operational because the Pope was coming. So you see a government that does not care about the people. They don't care about the common good. They don't care about the people. So what type of government is that? The Pope is saying that they have to be upright conscience. They have to a conscience that judges them when they do something wrong. They have to have an upright conscience to the common good, not just their good, not just stealing their own money, but the common good, thinking about others. This includes dedication to both the majority of the population and the minorities. We know the majority of Cameroonians are French people. They have 8 regions. And we Anglophones, we just have 2 regions. We have the north and the south. Only southwest, northwest, southwest. So the Pope says that we have the government has to dedicate both the majority and the minority, as well as their mutual harmony. So the English speaking Cameroon in 2016, the lawyers began by complaining that they were being marginalized. The bishops got a memorandum to Paul Biya stating the problem. The bishop did a wonderful job. At the time, it was the BAPEC, the Bamenda Episcopal Conference was being, provincial conference was led by Bishop Josh Nko. That was when that conference was a conference. Not now that we don't see anything about it. Since that time, they were ignored and they have not done anything. Just imagine you have a case and you bring up the case and you're ignored. Are you going to stay quiet? No, you have to keep hammering, insisting until your case is heard. But the bishops, that letter 216 died till today. We've not read a letter from them on this conflict. So that's a problem. Our bishops to sit up and speak out as Paul Vezekov did. I'm still hammering on Paul Vezekov. Because when he spoke in those days, things were adjusted. Yes? But today our bishops speak, who cares? Because they're all, people say, oh, they're all liars. They have taken money from the government. That's why they can't speak the truth. Because they have been bought over. They have lost their moral conscience and moral authority, and that disturbs me terribly. When I was growing up, we knew who bishops were. Yes. Paul Etoga, Archbishop Paul Vezekov, Archbishop Andre Woking. These are bishops that when they spoke in Cameroon, Cameroon shook. Cardinal Toumi. These are people who could die for the truth. But our bishops are saying this guy, one of the speakers today said, oh, they have to behave diplomatically, otherwise they'll be killed. That's exactly why you're a bishop. Why did they put on all the purple socks? Is it just for fancy? No! It is to show that there are matters, that they are ready to die for the faith and for the truth. Yes, otherwise they should resign. You cannot be claiming to be an archbishop, a bishop, and you're not ready to die for your people. So what type of bishop are you? A pastor dies for his flock. Yes. And this brings me to the important point of appointment of bishops. The Vatican has to go back to that criteria for appointing bishops. We need bishops who are ready to die for the people. Otherwise, they should not be made bishops. Bishopric is not just an elegant ministry where you dress as a cassock and you mingle with big people. No. It is service. If you can't be a bishop, if you can't serve like Jesus did, then just resign. Just resign, because there's no need playing games. The next paragraph. Today, like many other nations, your country is facing complex difficulties. The tension and violence that have inflicted certain regions of the northwest and southwest and the far north have caused profound suffering. So the Pope now hits the point. The southwest and the northwest. He says Cameroon is going through very complex situations. And Pope is sitting like this and listening. And all the politicians. And he tells us the first one is the Anglophone problem, which some of you said did not exist. Atanganji said there was no Anglophone problem. I don't know what this man gains in telling lies. Why do you tell lies like that? And he's an Anglophone. So the Pope is saying that it's an Anglophone problem, which has caused tension and violence and has inflicted regions. It has caused profound suffering, loss of lives, families displaced, children deprived of schooling, young people no longer see the future. Behind the number are the faces, stories, and shattered hopes of real people. In the faces of such dramatic situations, I call on the human family at the beginning of this year to reject the logic of violence and war and to embrace a peace founded on love and justice. That's what the Pope is saying. He's saying this war has killed a lot of people. People have left Cameroon, walked for 6 months in the desert through Mexico to come to America because of this war. It has not done good to Cameroon at all. A peace that is unarmed, that is not based on fear, threats, or weapons, and at the same time disarming, because it is capable of resolving conflicts, opening hearts, and generating trust, empathy, and hope. So the Pope is talking about this peace. That this peace is capable of solving the problem without arms. Peace cannot be reduced to a slogan. It must be embodied in a way of life that renounces all forms of violence, both personal and institutional. And this takes me back to Archbishop Kia, who has been preaching peace, 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 and this prayer thing, prayer miracle, just pray over your problem. No. The church has tribunals. In Rome, there's a tribunal. In fact, there's a cardinal who is being judged right now in that tribunal. Why do the church have tribunals? Because of justice. You cannot be preaching about peace all the time without justice. Peace can never be achieved without justice. Paul the Sixth said that very clearly in his United Nations speech in 1972 when he visited. There can never be peace without justice. So Arizona has been preaching peace. We are fed up with you, with your peace thing. We are fed up with you on your peace. We want you to preach both peace and justice. And that's why the commission is called Justice and Peace Commission. It's not peace and justice. It's justice and peace. Because justice comes first. So without justice, there can be no peace. Yes, whether you like it or not. For this reason, I strongly reiterate, the world is searching for peace and out of war with all the pains it causes through death, destruction, and exile. This cry is intended as an appeal that contributes to the efforts of an authentic peace, prioritizing it over any partisan interest. Many Cameroonians are refugees in Nigeria. Cameroonians have left illegally from Cameroon and gone to countries illegally because the situation is terrible. Poverty. People killed, corpses all over the streets. That's a big problem. The Pope is so worried about it. Peace, in fact, cannot be decreed. It must be embraced and lived. It is a gift from God which unfolds through patience and collective efforts. It is everyone's responsibility, beginning with civil authorities. To govern means to love one's own country as well as neighboring countries. So the Pope is talking now about the government. Our government keeps talking about peace. You can't decree it. You can't say, we have to be peaceful. We have to be peaceful. No! It must be embraced and lived. They are not living it. It is a gift from God, which unfolds through patience and collective effort. So it's 10 years now. Patience and collective effort. There was the so-called worthless national dialogue. What did it bring? Nothing. They brought people to act as if we're in a theater. Because the real problem was not solved. Why are we escaping from this problem? That is why the problem has not been solved. To govern means to love one's own country as well as neighboring countries. So to govern, Mr. Pobia, means to love your own country. But does Pobia love Cameroon? I wonder. Look at the Cameroon I saw today on the TV. Dirty roads, terrible roads start here and untarred here. You begin to wonder, does this man really love Cameroon after 43 years? Look at the Cameroon airport. Look at the Somalian airport. Can you compare that airport with the airport in Kenya? Can you compare that airport with the one in South Africa? With the one in Equatorial Guinea? Let's not go to South Africa. Equatorial Guinea. What is the problem with Cameroon? Why is it that we have not grown? We are instead decreasing. Look at the airport in Douala. Look at the airport where the Pope landed. It looked like a domestic airport. Like a national airport in one of the states in America. No, let us be serious. Governing means to love. We don't love Cameroon. Ministers come to America, to Europe, they see how roads are tied, how people take the subway and all that. They go back to Cameroon, they don't change. The last time I went to Cameroon, I landed at the Douala airport. I was shocked. Mosquitoes, extremely hot, no internet, no Wi-Fi. In fact, I thought I was in the jungle. That is the problem. Do we really love Cameroon? Do our ministers really love Cameroon? If yes, why is it that the projects are never realized? Why? Because of corruption. To govern means to love one's own country as well as neighboring countries. The commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, is equally applicable to international relations. To govern means truly listening to citizens. That's the problem. Anglophones have fought for the past 10 years. We have not been listened to. Instead, we have been crushed. It's a very terrible La République. They want to crush. Don't talk, we deal with you. It's a government that, there's no space for dialogue. It's not good. The Pope is hammering that terribly. To govern means truly listening to citizens, valuing their intelligence and their ability to help build lasting solutions to problems. Pope Francis pointed out the need to move beyond the idea of social policies being a policy for the poor, but never with the poor and never of the poor, much less part of a project which can bring people back together. Next paragraph. In such a change of approach, civil society must be recognized as a vital force for national cohesion. Cameroon is ready for this transition. Associations, women's and youth organizations, Trade unions, humanitarian NGOs, as well as traditional religious leaders all play an irreplaceable role in weaving the fabric of social peace. They are the first to intervene when tensions arise. They are the ones who care for the display, support victims, open spaces for dialogue, and encourage local mediation. Their close ties to the local community enables them to understand the root causes of conflict and to identify appropriate solutions. Civil society also contributes to shaping consciences, promoting a culture of dialogue and fostering respect for differences. In this way, civil society is preparing for a future that is less prone to uncertainty. I would like to highlight with gratitude the role played by women. They are often, unfortunately, the first victims of prejudice and violence. Go to Bamenda. All these women killed and their children left. Who are going to take care of those children? So in every war, in every violence, the women suffer and the children. Children can't go to school. So the Pope is saying the truth. He's hitting the point really hard. He's hammering. They are often, unfortunately, the first victims of prejudice and violence, yet they are tireless peacemakers. The commitment to education, mediation, and rebuilding of the social fabric is unparalleled and serves to curb corruption and abuses of power. For this reason, too, their voices must be fully recognized in the decision-making process. Listen to people in the decision-making process. Don't abuse people because you think you're the government, you can say and do whatever you want. No, that's not democracy. In the face of such generous dedication within society, transparency in the management of public resources and respect for the rule of law is essential to restoring trust. It is time to examine our consciences and take a bold leap forward, just a bold leap forward. Just and credible institutions become pillars of stability, but are our institutions in Cameroon credible? Look at the National Assembly. The Constitutional Council declared Biya as a winner of an election. Do you guys think that is normal? When they have contested electoral fraud in different parts of Cameroon. Today he couldn't go to the airport. And this is the man that was voted to govern Cameroonians. Do you think he was really voted to govern Cameroonians? I pitied Pobia when I see him sitting there like that. I said, my friend, let us be sincere to ourselves. Why do you want to hold on to power till the end? Why don't you give this to somebody else? You know you didn't win, but you're sticking to power as if it's your private property. No, it's not correct. It's not your personal property. And I'm telling you so you can hear. Public authorities are called to serve as bridges, never as sources of division, even when insecurity seems prevalent. Security is a priority, but it must always be exercised with respect for human rights, combining rigor and magnanimity with particular attention to the most vulnerable. In Cameroon, is there anything of respect for human rights? They just catch you, they beat you and take you to jail. You can't talk. Look at this guy, Kwemeni, he's still in Konengi. Why was he caught? The other guy who was caught and he died in the Konengi. You see, this is a violation of human rights. Authentic peace arises when everyone feels protected, heard, and respected. When the law serves as a secure safeguard against the whims of the rich and the powerful. Brothers and sisters, on closer reflection, the high offices you hold demand a twofold witness. The first is achieved through the collaboration of the various agencies and administrative levels of the state in the service of the people, and especially the poor. The second is accompanied by carrying out institutional and professional responsibilities with integrity and upright conduct. Indeed, in order for peace and justice to prevail, the chains of corruption which disfigures authority and strip it of its credibility must be broken. Hearts must be set free from an idolatrous thirst for profit. True profit comes from integral human development, that is balanced growth of all the aspects that make life on this earth a blessing. Cameroon possesses the human, cultural, and spiritual resources necessary to overcome trials and conflicts and move towards a future of stability and shared prosperity. Common efforts in favor of dialogue, justice, and integral development must transform the wounds of the past into sources of renewal. As I have often mentioned, young people represent the hope of a country and the church. Their energy and their creativity are priceless treasures. Of course, when unemployment and social exclusion persist, frustration can lead to violence. And that's exactly what's happening in Cameroon. Our youth have nothing to do. So what do you expect them to do? An idle man is a devil's workshop. They leave school, they have doctorates, masters, bachelors. They can't find a job because the government is not creating companies. The government is not creating companies. So how do you expect these guys to just sit? That's why they have to come to other countries illegally, because Cameroon, the government does not care about the people, the young people. What do you want them to do after school? You need to create jobs for them. It is the only way to curb the outflow of wonderful talents. So there are so many Cameroonians all over the world, professors, doctors, because in Cameroon they have not been valued. It is also the only way to combat the scourges of drugs, prostitution. How many girls do we have as prostitutes in the Douala, Yaounde, university students who have had masters and doctorates? Because they can't find a job, they go into prostitution because the government has forgotten about them. These are devastating to many young lives in an increasingly dramatic way. I'm almost done. The last paragraph says, thankfully, young people in Cameroon possess a deep spirituality that still resists the homogenizing influence of the market. So young people are very, very, thanks be to God. Spirituality means their relationship with God is still powerful. They have faith. They have not lost faith in God. Thanks be to God. It is a source of energy that gives value to their dreams, which are rooted in the prophecies that nourish their prayers and their hearts. Yes, many of them. I have met many of them here in the United States who walked from Cameroon. They flew to where? They flew to Ivory Coast. From Ivory Coast, they flew to where? To Brazil. From there, they started walking from Brazil, Peru, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, United States. They walked on foot. Terrible experience. And many of them died. Why? Because they are not given an opportunity in Cameroon. When they are not twisted by the poison of fundamentalism, the traditions inspire prophets of peace, justice, forgiveness, and solidarity. By fostering interreligious dialogue and involving religious leaders in initiatives of mediation and reconciliation, politics and diplomacy can draw upon moral forces capable of easing tensions, preventing extremism, and promoting a culture of mutual respect and esteem. Through her efforts in education, healthcare, and charity, the Catholic Church in Cameroon desires to continue serving all citizens without distinction. The Church also wishes to work in good faith with civil authorities and all those involved in effort to promote human dignity and reconciliation. So the Pope makes it clear, the Church is open to working with you in good faith, not in bad faith. Good faith. Be open to goodness, to doing the right thing, to giving people the chance. Those who are qualified, give them the job. That's what the Church is open to. Where possible, the Church intends to facilitate cooperation with other countries and strengthen ties between Cameroonians around the world and their communities of origin. May God bless Cameroon, assist its leaders, guide civil authorities and society, enlighten the work of the diplomatic corps and God, and tell Cameroonian people, Christians and non-Christian, political leaders and citizens, the grace to welcome the kingdom of God and so build together a future of justice and peace. And that's how the Pope ends. The Pope ends by calling on the people and praying that may God bless Cameroon, and may he help the citizens, the politicians, the Christian, the non-Christian, the diplomatic corps to do what? To build together a future of justice and peace. It's always justice and peace. It's not peace before justice. And that's why I still have a problem with Archbishop Andrew Nkea. Some of you have said, I am so overdosed, I have given him overdoses, but you guys don't understand anything about the reality, about those who are suffering because of this man. We cannot afford to be doing diplomacy while people are dying. We can't afford to do that. No, we have to fight and advocate for justice. You can't be saying, oh, I'm only preaching peace because I'm a diplomat. No. A priest should preach the truth. Don't involve yourself in all this diplomacy because it does not help. For 10 years, your diplomacy has not worked, Archbishop Nkea, because you are with the government and you are with the... So finally, we don't know where you are. Prisoners have been caught in Konenge almost 10 years. We have never seen you there. So what type of pastor are you? A pastor must visit the prisoners. You are given the impression that you're only for the BR government. They gave you a medal, you took it. Instead of saying, no, I'm not taking this thing up. But that was the greatest betrayal of Archbishop Nkea to his people. That medal. Until today, he has not celebrated it. Because we condemned it openly. Yes. So the Pope ends with 4 citations. St. Augustine addressed the presence of religious leaders. And that is the my comment on the speech of Poblio today in Yaounde. We are waiting eagerly to see what's going to happen tomorrow in Bamenda, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be an explosion. Today was just an eruption. Tomorrow is going to be poof. The lava is going to flow out. And Douala, we don't know what's going to happen in Douala, but let's keep ourselves abreast with what's happening. Let's pray that this visit of the Pope is going to cleanse all the evil and all the corruption and all the bad governance which has destroyed our country, Cameroon. This was my comment for you. Stay in touch, and may God bless you always. I am an advocate of truth, of justice. That's what I stand for, justice. Not for myself, but for others. I am living my life for others, following the footsteps of the saintly teacher of teachers, Father Professor Ebulefu. I'm living my life for others and advocating for others, for justice. That's all. I have no personal problem with anybody. Once you make others suffer, I come in and advocate. Thank you.